It's Friday, November 17th, 2017. This is MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show, the pre-show before the show. That's Dan Tom over there. He's MMA Junkie Radio's fight analyst. I am Goes. In an undisclosed location in Enterprise, Nevada, is Gorgeous George, and that voice you just heard is producer Danny. He is in New York. Hi. 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 How's everybody?
Good.
Good. Tired, but good.
Tired? Woke up really early this morning.
On purpose?
No, I was supposed to be here in the studio for the Cox Cable guy. And then on my way, the Cox Cable guy says, hey, guess what? There's already a work order. There's already somebody working. It's somewhere in the back. So I'm not really necessary. So
you came early for Cox for nothing?
No, Dan. I'm not going to fall for that. I was not born yesterday. You know what gave it away, aside from the way he set it up, was the look in his face was just like, I can't wait.
All right, guys, coming up. Stand by.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Hi, Junkie Nation. It's Titus George and Goes. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yes!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. Today is Friday, November 17th. Hopefully you all are getting ready to wind up your week and enjoy the upcoming weekend. Hanging out with us for a couple hours, I'm your host, Gorgeous George. Goes is our fabulous co-host. He's devious and dastardly, so be careful with him. Dan Tom is our latest addition to the show. He's the fight analyst, and of course, back east, the glue that holds it all together, Danny Otto. What's up, guys?
What is up?
What's going on?
Today's Friday, you guys. Friday. You know what that means, right?
What?
That means college football's around the corner, fights around the corner.
Yeah.
What else? We got some hockey. College basketball started again.
Hockey.
I'm so excited.
Okay, I'm with you. And don't forget, Goes, Friday nights is, well, what they say? I think Friday nights is for the girlfriends, Saturday nights for the wives. But Friday nights, you know what else that's for? High school football.
Friday Night Lights?
Yeah.
Yeah, the #1 team in the nation is playing tonight against Long Beach Poly. A lot of good players have come out of Long Beach Poly over the years. In fact, arguably that high school probably has put more NFL players or put more of their players into the NFL than any other high school in the country. Just last night, what's that guy's name goes? Juju Schuster, formerly from USC. He's got that long name. Something else.
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, he came out of Long Beach Poly, and then of course the show was on the NFL Network. And Willie McGinnis, he is also formerly of Long Beach Poly. On the other side of the field was Adoree Jackson for Tennessee, also out of Long Beach Poly. So that's quite a squad they got. We got our hands full, but we're modern day for crying out loud. Fun show today. We have a lot of guests. I think I told the guys how it all came together at the end. You can only make a certain amount of invites out there. And even if you're not hearing back, you just can't go overboard because when it all comes together, it comes crashing down hard. We're going to have a real tight schedule today, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Joining us in about 10 minutes is going to be Ben Fowlkes. who, according to me, is the #1 MMA media person. You know, I said journalist yesterday, and somebody took offense to that. I had to look up the fucking definition of journalist, and I wasn't wrong. Journalist has so many branches. It's, you know, you can do video, you can write, you know, you can do like broadcasting, but I didn't want to get into it, so I was just like, yeah, I'll let you have the comebacks. I'm not into hearing what you're saying. I wasn't offensive in any way, and I thought I pretty much did a good job of explaining that this kind of had really a lot to do with just my favorites. So I hopefully you all had some fun with that yesterday, and we'll talk a little bit to Ben about, you know, some of the current topics, and I just kind of wanted to crown him and just tell him what happened, what went down yesterday. Now, following Ben Fowlkes will be Damon Martin, and hopefully Damon's not listening to this, because I'd just like to tell him once he comes on. But Damon is top 10, guys. I fucked up. He is legit, and I knew I was gonna mess this up one way or another. And I really enjoyed his work over the years. And he's a hustler. He does a really, really great job. He's been on the show before, but it's been a while. And so, you know, I'm just gonna kind of issue him a formal apology. You know, if he'll give a shit. But anyway, he's legit. He's worked for MMA Weekly, you know, Fox Sports. Now he's doing work for Flow Combat. I think he may even be back with MMA Weekly as well in some capacity. But that, and another thing I saw on Facebook was a lot of people were going out and seeing these movies. What's the latest one? The Justice League or something like that?
Yeah, that one just came out, right?
Yeah.
Yes, last night, I think?
You know, it's not really too much of my thing, but I noticed a lot of junkies were either going to it or asking others for reviews. And let me tell you something, just to tie in Damon's spot, he does a great job of previewing movies and television shows. So we'll talk to him down or not. It sounds like Woodley's in, just waiting on Diaz. After that, we'll
go up with number 3.
Well, I was going to guess Frank Mir for my number 2, so I'll go Frank Mir for number 3.
I guess I'll go with
Can you guys hear
Mo
Max?
again.
Oh, what did Max say?
Hey!
Shut up, Max.
Roy Nelson's number 4 at plus 500.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. He's tied with Fedor. Fedor's also plus 500.
Okay, I can see that.
This is a little bit bizarre. We then go to Chael Sonnen and King Mo.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do about this, guys? Just let him bark? Old school tag?
Old school.
Let him bark.
And then we have Quinton Jackson is the least favorite. He's plus 1,500.
Wow.
That's weird because Mo has been, he's 12-1 as a heavyweight, believe it or not. He's won these types of tournaments. You know, this isn't really a one-nighter, so I don't know that experience comes in handy, but he's fought bigger guys.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I don't know. The odds on Holm and Cyborg are out, and that, by the way, has been added to UFC 219. I don't know if it's officially the main event. It could wind up being the main event.
I think it is.
I believe they're still trying to put other fights together. You know, we teased Tyron Woodley and Nate Diaz. Tyron Woodley has said, I got the bout agreement and I signed it. I'm just waiting for the other guy. And I have to believe that if Nate Diaz signed it, that's your main event. But I don't know. And it could be that they're also working on somebody for Jimmy Rivera who could now be the co-main to Holm and
Charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio, live from the Race and Sportsbook at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. Stop on by and pay us a visit if you're ever in town. The show starts at 10 a.m. Let us know your day. Let them know the at MMA Junkie. Number one journalist in Michigan.
Oh, yeah, this is down on me.
Yes. Ben's holding that oversized trophy that hardly anyone could ever hold up.
You think he's got a Ric Flair rope and he's just throwing his hands up and spinning around?
Yeah. Just really was soaking in the moment.
Ben, you crossed 10 years, right, of covering the sport. Looking back on it, has it been a blast? Has it been a struggle? How would you categorize your time in mixed martial arts?
An emotional roller coaster is probably the quickest way I could sum it up. Yeah. It's weird, especially because it's gone from a time people then explain that you cover that. And now you can tell if everybody's, it's kind of a given that people know what MMA is. Now they just want to know why somebody would write about it for a living. So it's gotten slightly easier to have those conversations.
When you wake up in the morning and you see a boomerang being thrown from a Brazilian at Colby Covington, you're probably not shocked that went down, but can you actually believe some of the things you wake up to nowadays and have to cover?
Yeah, I mean that one is a really good example actually, because that's where you feel like MMA is the child you love, but that you can't take anywhere. You take them to Australia and they're going to throw a boomerang. You take them to Japan and they're going to throw some sushi at the restaurant. You just know that MMA is going to be that kid. You still love them, but when you give everybody the talk in the car about how we have to be on our best behavior because we're guests here, it's clear that we're really talking to one kid, and that kid is MMA.
I like it. UFC 219, tickets go on sale pretty soon. We think we have a main event. Holm versus Cyborg was announced. I should say it's Cyborg versus Holm. She'll be defending her featherweight title there. Is that enough? Or should we get excited about maybe Woodley defending versus Diaz, even though that's not really the welterweight title defense we want to see?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like you need something else if you want it to feel like that big end-of-the-year card, that usually you get from the UFC. And, I'm pretty excited about seeing Chris Cyborg and Holly Holm. I think it's the closest that we've seen so far to, like, a real, meaningful challenge to Chris Cyborg since she's been in the UFC. It does feel like if you want to get it to that next level where, it's a kind of invite all your friends over sort of pay-per-view, you do need something else. And I don't know if it needs to be another title fight. Like, I guess I would rather, take your time and get a real opponent from Tyron Woodley than just trying to pick something like a Nate Diaz fight just because you think it'll sell tickets and move a couple extra pay-per-views. But it does seem like you need something else kind of big in that place there, because right now, I don't know if it's quite gotten to that level that we expect at the end of the year.
What do you think should happen? I don't think I need to fill you in on all the details. You probably know all these, of course, because you're the #1 journalist in mixed martial arts. But what should happen to Conor McGregor now that you've kind of heard all the different versions, apologies have been made? The referee has spoken, the ABC president has spoken. What would be appropriate in your mind?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I think it's already tricky just because of the regulation situation involved, that it's not like you can just decide that, hey, he's suspended or something by the licensing body. And then you have the UFC, which is in a tough position with him because the UFC clearly can't tell him what to do at all. The UFC really needs him more than he needs the UFC right now. And I think that boxing matches kind of prove that. If you go and you want to, fine him or suspend him or something, you risk making him mad at you and then making him just want to sit out for a year or something. Point. And plus, you don't really want him suspended if you're the UFC. So it's tough to know exactly what you want to do, and it's, I think, kind of telling that we have already just dropped the idea that there would be any consistency across the board in the punishment. Jason Hyde pushes a ref after he is stopped in a cage, and like in a fight that he's actually in, and he gets cut without Dana White even seeing it. Sight unseen, just gets cut. Roy Nelson kicks Big John McCarthy in the butt. the punishment is not quite so severe, but still, Dana White comes down kind of hard. And Conor McGregor goes and does this, jumps in the cage, somebody else's fight, and shoves the ref. And, we just haven't heard, it seems like the UFC would rather kind of lay low on this one and not even talk about it if they could help it. So I think the apology didn't really help things, especially because the apology, the version of events laid out in the apology is clearly not consistent with the version of what we actually saw on the videotape. So it's tough for me to say exactly, here's exactly what I think should be done. But I think if you're the UFC, putting your hands on officials is a line you absolutely need to draw, just for the safety of the officials and for the sake of the sport itself. That can't be something that you're iffy on.
Ben Fowlkes here, our guest on MMA Junkie Radio. He's also the co-host of the Co-Main Event podcast that drops every Tuesday. You can get it straight from MMA Junkie and check it out. Him and Chad Dundas, his partner in crime, they do a great job with that. He's also a feature columnist on MMA Junkie. All right, Goes and Dan, what do you have for Ben Fowlkes?
Ben, these apology letters that come out, these statements, what are they worth anymore? If you were a manager, how would you handle the situation? Because we've been talking about this last couple of days, and it just kind of feels like going through the motion, especially when one comes after, 2 weeks after a homophobic slur, you got that apology, then you get this one. Do they even count anymore?
I mean, I think it definitely can count if you do it right. And I think, the apology he made on TV after the homophobic slur thing, that one, while it still left me wondering, the way he phrased it at the end still left me wondering if he totally understood exactly why people had taken issue with it in the first place. But I at least believed him when he was saying, hey, I don't have anything against gay people, and I meant no offense. And you're like, okay, I do believe that. But with some of the other stuff, I think this apology kind of made the situation worse, especially because it seems like if you're saying, hey, I saw, a guy die in his injuries in the cage, and therefore I overreacted because I was concerned about fighter safety. And we can look at the video and be like, no, you're not concerned about fighter safety. You jumped in to celebrate with your teammate. The referee tried to get rid of you. Then you ran over and you pushed the referee as he was trying to check on the guy that you say you were concerned about. And then you started kind of this melee that knocked the guy over as he's trying to get up. So that, I think, is an example of how not to do it. It makes it worse to try to use somebody else's death as kind of cover for your actions when we can see that that's really not what you were concerned with. But I do think that, that doesn't mean that all apologies are going to be worthless. If you do it the right way and you really take responsibility for what you did wrong instead of trying to deflect the blame onto somebody else, then the apology can really be meaningful.
Colby Covington has kind of flown just completely out of the radar right now with all the stuff that he's been doing. Obviously, the blame has got to fall on him, but can some of it fall on the UFC because of the structure of the way things have been built? Basically, they've told you it doesn't matter if you put together a streak and do everything. It doesn't guarantee you a title fight, but what has worked for people is this type of behavior, maybe not to this extreme. Is it half blame? Is it some blame? Or is all the blame on Colby Covington?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends exactly what we're blaming him for, but as far as his persona that he's trying to get out there and push, you can argue about how he's doing it, but it's clear that it's coming from a guy who's been paying attention to what works and what is actually effective in getting the UFC and its fans, frankly, to notice you. Because you can't just blame the UFC when the UFC is only trying to do whatever fans will pay for. If fans all decided that, hey, we just want George St. Pierre style, super respectful and low key public persona, then that's what the UFC would push, and then that's what fighters would then gravitate towards. So it's kind of all of us who have to take responsibility in that sense. You can say, hey, he's taking it too far in these few directions, but the kind of persona that MMA fans have gravitated toward is one that already walks right on that razor's edge. So, of course, some guys are going to stumble over it trying to give us what we want in that sense. But, yeah, I mean, this is just... It's the same thing when Tyron Woodley is talking about how he wants money fights instead of just thinking about who is next in the division. You can't blame him for saying that. That's what has proven to work.
All right, folks, there you have it. Ben Fowlkes, one of the best in the business. Follow him on Twitter at Ben Fowlkes MMA. Ben, more speed bags, please. I love them.
Okay. Just because you asked, I'm going to keep it going.
It's almost just spilled his coffee.
Thanks for spending some time with us on a Friday, man. Have a nice weekend.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you.
That was close.
You up on that, didn't you?
I almost spit it all over my computer.
Dude, he got you.
You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. I might move him to number 2 just because of that. All right, we'll be right back, folks.
Hey, idiot! Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
The SiriusXM free listening event is now through November 27th. Listen to 100 free channels on any satellite radio. Tell your friends and family. Go to SiriusXM.com for more information. All right, Goes and Dan, I'll let you guys decide. There's 3 things I want to discuss with Damon and Martin. Do you guys want to do the fun thing first, the MMA thing first, or GG foot in the mouth thing first?
The reckoning for me.
You want the reckoning?
What do you
got?
got?
I'm down with the reckoning. I thought if we did that last, then it would make him more uncomfortable the whole interview.
Oh.
But yeah, you're right. Okay, let's just get it over with.
All right, let's bring him on. Damon Martin. What's up, Damon? How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, my man. Hey, so there's 3 things, like I said, I wanted to discuss. I know you heard us there while you were on hold. And the first one will be I need to remove my foot from my mouth. Yesterday I was having some fun, and I decided to do the top 10 journalists in mixed martial arts. And I told the guys, I told Dan and Goes and Danny, our producer, I said, fuck, I'm going to fuck this up. I'm leaving someone out. Because it was a little bit spontaneous, to tell you the truth. I mean, I have my favorites, you know, that I constantly read, and the guys and gals that produce great work. So I thought I was pretty close. And sure enough, man, late last night, you know, I'm scanning through Twitter, and I see your name. I go, that's the one. I fucked up. Folks, Damon Martin's been doing a lot of great work since 2003. Met him through MMA Weekly. He's done work there. He's done work at Fox Sports. He's done work at Flow Combat. Damon, you really are one of the best. It's a shame we don't have you on more often, and I really would like for you to tell us when you're in town so we can have you co-host an episode. But, so, you know, I'm sure you didn't lose any sleep last night, because I doubt you even heard that I did this. But regardless, I've always wanted to just tell you that I really enjoy your work. And now tying that into something that I've really been following is you seem to have your finger on the pulse of the possibility of Tyron Woodley and Nate Diaz. You've been, you know, posting about that, and I know you've talked to Tyron. What do you think, Damon? You think this thing's going to go down or what?
You know, I just have a hard time believing it's actually going to happen. I think, you know, the 2 things that happened when that fight started to come together. One, was the UFC desperately needed a main event for UFC 219, and there weren't a lot of rabbits left to pull out of the hat in terms of champions being covered for what's coming next. It happened last interview in January. I thought it could have also been posturing by the UFC. I'm sure, as people know, when a fight rather long. Andy, maybe really look forward to his version of the movie. Of course, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, she's awesome, and of course, you know, her movie was the best DC movie they've made. So there are good elements, and I wouldn't tell people not to see it. You know, there's going to be people who are going to enjoy this movie. It's just, they keep prowling up and keep making the same errors over and over again, and they just can't seem to fix what they got it right once with Wonder Woman, but they can't seem to get anything else right.
Dan, what do you have for Damon?
You know, Damon, I love that you're talking about this right now, because I, too, am a movie fan and been familiar with your work through the MMA scene, but finding out that you're into these things and following Nerdcore Movement really made me even more of a fan of yours, and I don't want to wax on, because I could just keep going on movies if we start down that road. But I guess on that note of comic book movies and making the same mistakes, you know, I can't keep up with these movies as much as I like, and I agree with you. I second the criticisms you have on comic book movies, but correlating back to MMA, it almost feels like we have these comic book movies. You know, we're trying to assemble these big cards. We want to make these big, you know, gangbusters at, you know, for ticket sales and all this stuff, but we're missing it. We're not. MMA is missing that Dark Knight. You know what I'm saying? We're missing those quality comic book flicks. So, what would you say as far as, you know, using that metaphor? What's the Dark Knight? What do we have to look forward to? Maybe it's not even 2017, Damon. Maybe it's something that you can smell in 2018. What do you think is going to come and kind of bring us out of this muck we've been in with MMA?
Well, I mean, the easy answer, of course, is going to be the return of Conor McGregor, because he's the biggest star in the sport, and his injection into the UFC is always going to create a lot of excitement, and that's going to be a big deal. But I also think in 2018, what we're also going to see is really the continued rise. A big deal we had that title being crowned at 125 and moving up to 125.
What's up, beautiful people? How's it going today?
It's going great, my man. What do you think of that? You're the favorite. Any pressure with that, or did you expect it? I mean, you have been whooping ass, and you're probably the biggest kid in the tournament.
Yeah, I think I expected it. To be honest, I feel like I'm the best. I'm the best heavyweight that Bellator has to offer, and I say rather readily that I'm on any given day I'm the best heavyweight in the world. And I think that I just kind of had, just had a couple missteps that cost me a pretty substantial amount as far as like my name value. But I feel like when it comes down to actually getting down and scrapping, I think I'm one of the best in the world. So I'm not surprised I'm the favorite. But then again, in that same breath, like we have 3 light heavyweights and a bloated middleweight. That's like if it was a full-fledged heavyweight Grand Prix or heavyweight tournament, then I think that it would be might possibly be a little bit different. Like if Karatanov was in it, if for example like Chet Congo was in it, but I think that they are going by like sheer potential. And I think that the smaller bodies make it a much more interesting tournament for sure.
In the last 3 years, you've gone 6-2 with wins over Derek Lewis, Sean Jordan, Gabriel Gonzaga, Fedor Emelianenko, amongst others. You're 39 years old, which means at 36 you started hitting your stride. What happened? Like, I mean, I think I've noticed that a lot of heavyweights in their late 30s are just, becoming the best fighters they can possibly be. Was it just that, or can you point to something that really turned things around for you?
I can't really point to anything in particular, but I would agree that heavyweights typically hit their strides later on. And that's predominantly because most of our victories are predicated upon power, right? So if you don't lose your chin and you maintain your power, then you can fight longer into your careers, and then you can actually gain more like cage experience and more mat time, which is really, I think that's almost like the gift and the curse. I'm lucky where I've had a lot of fights, excuse me, kind of like my Fedor fight, where most of them end in the first round, and like I don't get touched, and if I do, I don't get hit very much. And I almost say it's like the gift and the curse, because I'm looking for more cage time. I'm looking for that time where I can get in and actually get in the deep waters and make sure that I still make the good decisions I need to make and not rush into something. Like, for example, when you said I'm 6-2 in the last handful of years, but out of those 2 losses, one of which was I was doing really well against Ben Rothwell, and I got overly cocky in the middle of it and decided I was going to take him down, got caught in a choke. So like it's mistakes like that and keeping my cool and not letting my ego, which is massively inflated.
In the Bellator, was it something you wanted, or was it through? I'm not.
Man, I really wish I had a good answer for that. I don't, and I always want the Giants to do well, but it seems like coach lost the team, doesn't it? Like, it seems like the effort's not there, and and a lot of people say you got to put it on Eli's shoulders because the quarterback's supposed to raise the talent of the team, but I don't know if you can blame all that on Eli, even though I'm not a big Eli guy.
All right, bud. Well, listen, always great to catch up with you. We look forward to this tournament, and again, Vegas has you as the favorite. You're basically, if someone wants to bet 100, they get back 200 if they bet you. The next guy is Ryan Bader at plus 260, and then after that is Frank Mir. So even the experts are siding with you, Matt Mitrione. And thank you very much for the time here on the show.
Frank Mir's the 3rd favorite after being out for 2 years, huh?
Yeah, he's the 3rd favorite. And then after that, I believe, is Roy Nelson and Fedor are tied after that. But it's you and Bader, 1 and 2.
That's interesting. Well, I'm glad Bader finally gets the chance to be the bride, not the bridesmaid. It's exciting.
There you have it. All right, thanks, Mitrione. Enjoy your weekend.
Have a great day. All right, buddy, bye.
Later. That guy gives great interviews, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He always has great quotes. All right, folks. Let me do some Twitter roundups here. That was 3 guests that we had there in the first hour. Ben Fowlkes, MMA. Damon Martin. So those are pretty easy. At Damon Martin. At Ben Fowlkes MMA, and then you can follow Matt Mitrione at Matt Mitrione. They made it pretty easy for you there. Let them know you heard them on the at MMA Junkie Radio Show. All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we'll be talking to Phil Baroni. And we still have one more guest via the phone. Aljamain Sterling will join us as well towards the later half of the second hour. It's the second hour of the MMAjunkie Radio Show. Fun first hour, just blew right by. Now we can kind of relax a little bit as we wind down the week. And as we wait for our in-studio guests, let's take some calls. If you want to join in and follow them, it's 522-2846. We'll start off with Brian in Boston. What's up, Brian? How you doing?
Hey, boys.
Hey.
It was kind of an interesting week in Australia. I think that we learned a myth about a boomerang, that it doesn't come back to you, because when Fabricio threw it, it never came back to him. So I think that myth is
yeah.
Well, it was lodged in Colby Covington's chest. How was it supposed to come back?
Hey, dude, let's not get technical on this. I'm just saying, I'm reporting what I saw. I'd like to talk a bit about Verdum. You know, and he's sort of an unpredictable fighter, especially with the way he starts the fights, right? So we could see a running kick. We could see him run around the ring throwing punches. And then we've also seen the disciplined boxing, along with, like, his BJJ on the ground is top shelf. So before this week, I think the smart pick would be Verdum to win the fight. But every professional coach, whether it be from, football to baseball, basketball, even fighting, they try to limit distractions. And there's no way that the confrontation with Colby and then all the media coverage and then him, facing charges and all that is not a major distraction. So I wonder if the pendulum now leans the other way towards his opponent. And how do you guys feel about that?
Well, I guess I'll go first. This thing with distractions, I think what it boils down to is if you can still do what you do, but you're able to get back at an appropriate time, get your full rest, and then on fight day, just set your mind to the task at hand, and that way you don't, make any mistakes or put more pressure on yourself than you're used to. And I think you're okay. That's why a lot of people can put a lot of that on their plate and still succeed. Verdum, like I said, he just seems to wake up in a good mood. So to me, it seems like no matter what happens, he's able to, when things escalate, de-escalate, or whatever the word is, where he's able to just ground himself and, again, get his proper rest, chill out, relax, and then come back on, on fight day and do what he needs to do, So I think he'll be okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but some people can cope with it, some people can't, and some people need their full reps in practice. They need to, prepare and just be there, and others can just rise to the occasion. So we'll see, man. But I think Verdum's got enough. He really is a great fighter. Once he rounded off his game and became a black belt in the Muay Thai system of Cordero, that along with his jiu-jitsu game, I mean, he really, really took it to a new level, man. And he's, like you said, he's very unpredictable.
Yep.
I just think he hasn't shown me a decline yet in his physical abilities.
I think it affects all of them.
No,
just some more than others. Who was it that we were talking to the other day that said just their walkout music being a different song kind of affected them? It was a guest we had on last week, I think. But
it was a female.
Yeah, and I think
was that Nina? No.
Yeah, I think it was Nina. Yeah, I think it was Nina. Okay. And not just that, but like that's why I feel like Colby Covington's pressing charges just to kind of mess with him. Because I'm pretty sure Colby knows nothing's going to come out of this. But I think just the fact that Fabricio's got to deal with one other thing in the middle of fight week, I think that's probably why he's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about messing with him. Perhaps maybe he even knew how much it would mess with him because, I saw people hashing out this on Twitter as far as, how you have to show up in court or, you don't always have to show up in court, because, he doesn't live in Australia. It's kind of across the world from Fabricio Verdum resides. So what does that mean? Fabricio now is going to have to spend, a couple $1,000s to get a lawyer to represent him at this court case. So it's just, at the end of the day, it's almost like he's just reaching into Fabricio's bank account and go, here, deal with this, buddy.
Yeah, that's what you get for throwing a boomerang at me is basically what he's doing.
Yeah.
It sounded almost kind of comical when you first read the headline. It's like, Fabricio throws a boomerang. I'm like, how stereotypical is that? I actually thought they were kidding. Then I watched the video, and sure enough, like Go said, it lodged in his neck.
It's like a bucket. You know who had a really funny line? It was it was a fighter that was saying, I think it was Usman that was saying about Colby Covington ducking people, and he gave like a list.
Oh.
And then Gerald Harris popped in and said he didn't duck when they threw that boomerang. I don't know that for sure.
And shout out to Capoza, by the way, who jiffed what we were talking about on yesterday's show. We were talking about that scene from Mad Max, guys. Capoza, good follow on Twitter. He actually put Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington as the Road Warrior gang guys who get assaulted by the boomerang, and Verdum as the Savage Kid. It was great. It was great.
I'll tell you, the last couple of cards out of the UFC, for one, have just been outstanding. And I'm so happy with the way MMA is trending right now. Just the best sport, man. It's the best sport.
All right, Brian. Thanks for the call, my man. Always great to hear from you. Let's go to Brandon in Louisville. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, gentlemen. Nothing much today. I know you all got Baroni and Aljamain and probably a few other surprise guests come up. Just real quick, it's been said many a times, Junkie Nation, this is more than just a radio show, more than a podcast. This is a family. And shout out to my brother and my friend, Johnny Rico.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know, he lost his grandmother last night, and thoughts with you, my friend. I don't know what more I can really say, but just let you know, we're all here for you.
You know, I did not know that. And to the whole Rico family, especially Johnny, our deepest condolences. I really did not know that till now. In fact, I was just going through the YouTube chat and saw his name there. But, wow, what a tough loss, man. You know, grandparents, oof. I know when we lost our grandmother in 2009, that was a tough one for us, and that was the last of our 4 grandparents, 2 which we never really got to meet. Goes barely got to meet our grandfather, so really our grandmother was it for us for many years. Sorry about that, Johnny.
Yeah, and to his father, we've kind of come to know his father pretty well.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
His name's Tony.
Yep.
Very cool guy.
Yep. Good on you, Brandon, for bringing that up, by the way, too, as well. I just caught wind of that, Brandon, too. So you're right. We're our family here, so.
Okay. It looks like maybe we may have lost connection there with Brandon. Thanks, Brandon, for the call. 866-522-2846. Goes, any word yet from our in-studio guest?
Nah, I haven't seen him.
Okay. All right.
Did he go to the New York?
Well,
I know he likes to get Starbucks before, so maybe he's over there.
Yeah, all right. So like I was saying in the early part of the show, I don't know that we really reacted to it, but Holm versus Cyborg versus Holm, I should say, is official. I always like to, lead with the champion, and in this case it will be Cyborg versus Holm. She'll be defending her featherweight title. We don't know that it's the main event just yet. It may wind up being, because like Damon Martin said earlier, you can only pull so many rabbits out of your hat. And I just don't know that there's many matchups out there, that would qualify as a main event. There is a rumor of Woodley versus Diaz. Woodley wants it. He says he's already signed the bout agreement, just waiting on Nate Diaz. And as was pointed out again by Damon Martin, people in the Diaz camp have hinted towards the fact that he's begun training. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be this Woodley matchup. It could be another matchup, but for Nate, is he really that into the Conor matchup that he would continue sitting and waiting for that one big payday when he could possibly go in there and fight Woodley and maybe be a world champion if he can pull the upset?
They're a different breed. It's hard to figure out those kids, man. The Diaz brothers. Do you guys think the days are just over for Nate Diaz of being either a welterweight or a lightweight that just climbs the ranks and takes fights? Like, I think he's just a money fighter now. I mean, at least that's the way he's projecting himself.
Another thing we can credit King Mo for on this show, right? And being ahead of the game on Dagestan, money weight, all these terms Mo would bring. And, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's apropos here. I agree.
Yeah, I don't know, Goes. I believe that's what the Diaz brothers want, is just give us other big names and we'll throw down. It doesn't matter if it's for a title or not. Just pay us. But at the same time, as you can see, Nick Diaz has been off suspension for at least a year now. And they've thrown matchups his way, and from what I'm hearing, he's just not interested in fighting anymore. As far as Nate, I think he'll still fight. He's 2 years younger, but it seems like he's only into the McGregor matchup. And look, if he's looked after himself financially and he can afford it, more power to him. But I believe Nate, has the types of skills where he, could possibly compete and win the title on his own and force McGregor to come after him. I mean, he really could be that big of a star. His numbers shot through the roof. Nick always had more followers on any social media platform than Nate, and now Nate for sure towers over Nick. you know, Conor also knows that he can make more money with Nate than with anybody else, but has been proven, you know, time after time. You know, your star only shines for a certain amount of time, and then after that, there's just new people that are ready to take your place. And I'd hate for that to happen if these guys all of a sudden find a love for fighting somewhere in their late 30s and they're just a shell of themselves. This right here would have been the time, you know, to capitalize and cash some big checks, and it's not happening. Imagine if Nate beat Tony Ferguson. Now Conor can't take, I don't think he can take anything else, even GSP or whoever else they throw at him, because there'd be even more pressure to unify. He'd be the interim champion if he could beat Ferguson. And he'd be in the spot where if Conor had any sort of troubles with the UFC and UFC stripped him, he's now the world champion.
I'll take it a step further, Gigi. What about, let's rewind it just even 2 years ago to behind that Mexico City show when Eddie Alvarez is being interviewed, and then you have that bump in with Nate Diaz. This is before Eddie Alvarez gets to the title, and they had that fight. They had that fight, you know, set up to possibly be in the works. And now you look at Eddie Alvarez's trajectory getting to the title. You look at Nate's trajectory. It wouldn't have hurt either of their trajectories if they would have cashed in on that beef, so to speak. And now let's do the math from there. If he gets involved with Eddie Alvarez, gets himself in the title picture back in 2015, all these Conor matchups are still available, plus whatever fights with Tony Ferguson, Eddie Alvarez, with, again, something we talk about on the show, there's much more money when you attach a belt to the equation. You could argue that Nate Diaz would be better off, better off financially than as well as he's done as of right now, if he would have done that.
I was watching The Dark Knight the other day.
Oh.
And it reminded me of the Diaz brothers. Do you remember when the Joker said, I have all this money, but all I really like is just, you know, gunpowder and things that explode or whatever? I think that's how they are. Like, they're not trying to buy a mansion or anything like that. They just need enough money to do, like, the little things that they find fun that most people don't. And they're good. And when they feel like fighting, they come out. When the Joker wants to go out, rob a bank, he'll go out and do it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's how they are. But the same way we were talking about GSP the other day and how there's this new crop of fans that probably don't even know who he is. That's starting to happen to Nick Diaz. We need to figure out what's going on with that kid. He concerns me more than Nate. Yes. I think Nate eventually...
You know, having fun with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had someone respond to me on Twitter. You know, I usually don't give a shit about this stuff. But I figured, well, since Baroni's not there right now, we need to go kind of to our plan B of things we wanted to talk about on today's show. And this is what I was told.
I actually saw you got some love on some love on that, so I'm interested to see what you got here.
Yeah, it's coming too. You ready?
Yep.
Is it the following?
The following. According to M. Solis 1982, he says, my only problem with your list is that you call these guys journalists. Some yes, but as an actual investigative reporter, it offends me how loose you throw the term around. So I looked at that, right? And first of all, anybody that takes the time to listen to the show, thank you. Thank you, M. Solis 1982. Regardless of what you think of the list, thank you to you and everybody else that tunes in. Also, Junkie Gathering 2018, I'll have an announcement on Monday.
Ooh.
All right, back to this. So I have a lot of stuff to do, man. But I figured it'll take me 1 minute just to refresh myself and just make sure of what the definition of, journalist is. Just to see if my man here, really, I guess, had some sort of a point. You always go to the definition. We'll throw around racist a lot. Really using that, right? What for a website like what we do to be broadcast. Look, that's kind of what we do. We prepare news to be broadcast. Now, we're not the ones handing papers to the actual talent that's out there doing it. I mean, we're the ones that are reading up on it and then saying, whatever the news is and interviewing fighters or whatever. So I feel like we qualify. The Megan Olivi's, the Ariel Hawani's, the whoever's. So I have no problem with my list. You know what I mean? I don't think this was in any way offensive at all. Did you guys have a problem with anybody's inclusion on the top 10 list yesterday?
I mean, ours were. I thought they were all good. I think everybody contributes to making MMA better or covering the sport better. I think maybe a couple guys we would have switched or whatever. Dan might have had a couple guys different. I might have had a couple different.
For sure. For sure, yeah.
But yeah, as far as like, if those people aren't around, then the sport isn't being covered as well. So, I mean, I didn't have a problem with where these people
were. I thought
they
were all journalists, right? In one way or another?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think the only real complaint you can make is that you can't have a list big enough to fit in everybody we would want to fit in, first of all. And more toward the specific complaint that we're talking about here, I get it. I definitely get it. There's definitely different types of reporters, and our community is growing, so I think it's good to recognize the different categories because it can maybe allow us to give different attention to different people. So in that sense, I'm good, but I don't think it's any. I don't think anybody, I don't think it's something that's worth condemning your list or coming at your list for.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think it crosses that line by any means. So that's my opinion. That's my opinion on that. But I saw a lot of shouts for your list, though. I saw a lot of shouts for your list, though, Gigi. I know,
cool.
Like honorable mentions, even you mentioned would pop up. So,
yeah, I really didn't want to get into it on Twitter. I just figured if there's time on today's show, I'll just address it there. But from what I can tell, when I look back at the list, everyone there to me qualifies as a journalist. And if they don't, in the eyes of @msolis1982, then hey, I mean that's your thing, But looking back, I had fun with it. Omitting Damon was a mistake. Damon's definitely top 10. And don't put me on the spot and ask me who it squeezes out, because I don't even know if it necessarily squeezes out 10. I guess logically maybe it might. I don't know. Hell, even honorable mention was tough. And yesterday, as we were closing the show, I don't believe I ran through some names quickly, and I think the show was ending, as I said, R.J. Clifford. He's a stud. He does great with the Troll Booth on Tough Talk. He also hosts MMA Tonight on SiriusXM Rush 93. And he's broadcasted. He's broadcasted with Goes and I. We've done, the Bad Beat series out in Los Angeles. He's called other fights as well on his own. He's very talented, works behind the scenes with Fox Sports. So maybe not on camera, but, he develops storylines and provides stats for a lot of the fighters and the hosts there pre and post fight. So definitely RJ's one of the top guys out there, and the fact that he, had some fights under his belt definitely it adds to his coverage of the sport. On the boxing side, a couple shout outs. Well, not necessarily shout outs, but rest in peace to Rafael Garcia and Freddie Pacheco, a 1-2 punch there that we had in the last 48 hours. Big names in boxing.
Wow, I didn't know Pacheco had passed away.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he passed away yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Longtime cornerman of Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, and, of course, Rafael Garcia, most notably with Floyd Mayweather. Maybe not so much the last few years, but he was his #1 cut man for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And they both were lost here in the last 48, 72 hours. Big names, big names in the sport of boxing.
Very big. The thing I always liked about Rafael Garcia was just, I call him Rafael, I'm so used to it. Rafael Garcia was just that big smile, man. He was always a part of the camp, just always in a good mood, such a nice guy.
Well, Greg from the Money Team was telling us that it was really him that started hard work, dedication chants. It was really his thing. He would be the one that would say that. You see that a lot on those countdown shows on HBO and Showtime over the course of Mayweather's career, and that's something that you constantly heard got shouted out in the gym, and the origin of that was Rafael Garcia saying that, and everybody else following along. So that team definitely respected him, and Floyd had a nice post there on social media as a tribute to his friend and cut man. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, did you guys hear? We're going to go to break here in about 3-4 minutes, so I just want to stick to the schedule a little bit. But that whole Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby a few years ago, and Al Franken. Did you see that one? The governor of Minnesota or senator, I forget. Comedian,
Who was it today, George?
Did you guys see the allegations on Jameis Winston from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
No.
Allegedly groping an Uber driver, a female Uber driver.
Jesus Christ, man. Me and Dan have been talking about this, and it's literally every day there's somebody new.
Every
It's
day.
like
Every day, man.
I don't even know the Franken stuff.
There are fucking pigs out there.
Jeez.
Yeah, the Franken stuff's tied to Leanne Tweeden, who actually did some work on Fox, remember, for the UFC?
Oh, wow.
At one point? Yeah.
The pictures I saw of him was him tickling children. That wasn't anything to do with kids, Al Franken?
He was tickling her breasts in the picture I saw.
Oh, okay.
Groping is probably a better way to describe it. And the funny thing is Goes and I have been on that type of aircraft as we were coming back from Afghanistan. So they were on the same type of trip where they're out there. It's a morale visit to the troops. Goes and I, Jake Ellenberger, Amir Sadala, Stitch Duran, we went out there in 2013. So we know exactly the type of aircraft that they were in. They're coming back, flying out of that zone. I think they called it downrange because they went in 2012. So more than likely, they were flying back to the Manis Air Base in Kyrgyzstan, in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, where Valentina Shevchenko is from. And same thing, we have even on that plane, and so you can see Franken is getting, because he's kind of taking a little bit of the heat off himself and focusing on something else rather than just being fucking sorry.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, every day it's somebody different. And I mean, this was a while back, right, that this happened? I think she said she brought it up because somebody, I think she does radio now or something.
Right.
Somebody told a story, and it just kind of encouraged her to come out and tell her version of something similar. But really, I mean, I think we live in a day and age now where people have to worry about their past and a lot of things coming out like that. And who knows, man? I don't know. Scary times, but just, I mean, I don't know. It's pretty easy not to be a douchebag.
Well, do you guys ever think about, on the flip side, though, do you guys ever think about stuff when you were kids and, like, how that wouldn't fly now? Like,
dude, even if you go back to, like, our early episodes, you can go back, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, you'll probably hear some stuff that wouldn't be good to say now. I mean, it's just, it's different. Like, when my parents grew up, they probably said things that wouldn't fly now. If you watch just regular television, like, have you ever watched TV Land? You ever heard the things Archie Bunker and Fred Sanford say? I wouldn't fly today either.
Oh, dude, when we talk about the F word, let's just rewind it to Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Remember, Spicoli's TV interview?
Like, the only ones who get away with it is South Park for some reason. South Park can say whatever the hell they want.
That's true.
You got John Lineker throwing his name in the hat to fight Rivera. Moraes called him out. Aljamain Sterling called him out. And Rafael Assunção also just got a recent win. Wow, I think I got 4 guys that can fill in and fight Rivera. And then whoever's left out of the equation, there's 3 guys that can fill in and fight Sterling to keep him on Fresno. Yeah. Unless you take Sterling out of Fresno and put him on that other card. Now, granted, the Fresno card's coming up on December 9th, so we're looking at about 3 weeks. The other one is December 29th or 30th, so we're looking at about 6 weeks. Not the craziest thing I've ever heard with the 6 weeks for sure, but the 3 weeks would definitely be tight, but maybe just like Bisping's doing, hey, I didn't fall too out of shape. I got cleared by my doctors. He said that, by the way, the other day on Tough Talk. I'm just going to fly to China, make some money, and fight. You know, it could be that Assunção and Moraes might be able to pull that off. So, I don't know, man. I'm really hoping that the UFC can do something. That's a very exciting division. We're just coming off a great fight with Dillashaw and Garbrandt, and if Dillashaw and Mighty Mouse are going to do their thing, well, now's a good time to, jockey and position yourself at 135 pounds and maybe, proclaim yourself a contender in 2018. All right. We got... Oh, go ahead, Go ahead.
Go ahead. I want to talk to one of these doctors one day. I'm just curious because when a doctor sees you afterwards and he clears you, I imagine he's clearing you to go back to training, okay? I think if you were to say, I'm actually going to fly across the world and fight, I don't know why, but I just feel like it's different. I feel like a doctor would say, well, I was kind of clearing you to go back and, maybe a little sparring 1 day a week or something like that, get some strength and conditioning, you're okay for that. But a full-on fight is something different. So I want to know from a doctor, what exactly does he mean when he clears you? And is that clearance good enough for a fight? Or is it just to come back and train?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll see if we can do that, Ghost. But right now we got to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, we'll talk to Aljamain Sterling, one of the top bantamweights in the world. He right now is without an opponent as Hani Yahya has backed out of that UFC Fight Night 123 fight on December 9th.
SA agents, because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
All right, folks, we're coming down the home stretch of another fine edition of MMA Junkie Radio. We do the show at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. Stop on by and pay us a visit if you're ever in town. The show starts at 10 a.m. locally. We have plenty of space, so come on down. You have to be 21 years or older, though. It is a gaming area. Our last guest of the day and the week, his name is Aljamain Sterling. Now, he was expected to fight Hani Yahya at UFC Fight Night 123. Hani is injured, and he has pulled out. I've been checking, and they have not replaced Hani Yahya. So Aljamain doesn't have an opponent for that card. Now, Aljamain has told me he wants to fight. And I think that means he'll take an opponent on the Fresno card, or even better, he'll fill in for Dominic Cruz and fight Jimmy Rivera. You know, I talked earlier about Marlon Moraes and John Lineker and Aljamain Sterling and Fowlkes and Sal. I mean, those are some great bantamweights. Right now, the bantamweight division could really, really rise to the top as one of the top weight classes for the UFC. What is happening here, folks? Matchmakers, pay attention, for crying out loud. Book these guys. Joining us now is one of those great bantamweights, Aljamain Sterling. What's up, Aljo? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not much, man. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. Update us, my man. As of the last few minutes, I've been scouring the net. Do you have an opponent either for Fresno, or can they possibly move you to fight Jimmy Rivera, you know, later on in the month in Vegas?
Not right now. I'm still waiting on Sean. He did throw out some names, so I'm just waiting. I was waiting for my coaches to kind of get back to me and let me know what they want to do. I think we're going to stay on the Fresno card as per Sean, and we're going to bring a coast-to-coast ass whooping, is what I like to say.
I love it. Were any of those names similar to the names I dropped as well?
You said I dropped?
Yeah, you know the names I mentioned earlier? I said Marlon Moraes, Rafael Sensao, John Lineker. Did they happen to coincide with the names Sean gave you?
Oh, yeah. Some names in there. There's some names in there.
That's what I want to hear. Top 10 fighters should be fighting top 10 fighters as often as possible. So I'd love to see that. But I really wanted to see you versus Rivera. And from what I hear, all right, I'm not the biggest insider over here in Vegas. I just host a radio show, you know, but there's some guys that are really, really deep undercover. I had heard that you were going to fight Rivera at the end of the month in Las Vegas. Can you tell me anything? Did that have any legs on it, that story?
Not that I know of. I know Sean, I told Sean, I texted him, I said, I want that fight. I'll make your job easy. Give me the Rivera fight. And he said he'll see what he can do. He'll work on it. He said that was definitely a possibility. And sure enough, he hits me up probably a week later. Jimmy absolutely refuses to take the fight. So I don't know where Jimmy left his nutsack, but I think maybe his wife might still have him. I don't know. She might. I don't know if she allowed him to come out and play yet.
Yeah, you know, and there's a storyline there, man. The city versus Long Island. Have you guys spent a lot of time together at any point, maybe earlier in the careers, or just crossed paths? Why is there that heat?
Well, I think he's like the Joe's girlfriend. You know, we were both on the regional scene. I was ranked number 1. He was ranked number 2. So, you know, I guess he was a little envious of that, and he had his chance to get on into the UFC in the Tough Show. He lost in the first round to Dennis Bermudez, and you know, my shot was up next. So while we were on the regional scene, I'm up here cleaning up shots and putting these guys away, black belts and guys like that who are pretty much big names on the regional circuit in the Northeast. And I think if you're a hardcore MMA fan, you know the Northeast regional circuit is one of the toughest to get by and to secure a UFC contract. And he was out there just decisioning everybody. And then he got two knockouts over 2 veterans who were like really old and past their prime, and kind of got a little high up on himself. And so sure enough, he got back into the UFC and went back to his decisioning ways again. But you know, I look at it as we were 1-2. I had my chance. He had his chance, I should say. I capitalized on my opportunities. couldn't say the same for him. I got in, and he was the man left out. And sometimes that's just the way it goes. Now we're both in a position where we could both be making a lot more money to fight each other. Two of the biggest names on the East Coast and in the entire world at this point. Well, he's not really a big name. Let me not give him too much credit. Maybe to the hardcore fans, but outside of that, the guy has 8,000 followers. So, I don't even like pumping the guy up anymore. I thought the top 10 guys, top 5 guys, they like to fight each other, but I guess not. In his world, they think they're entitled to title shots that they didn't really necessarily earn. And his time will come. Eventually, we'll be able to fight, and we'll figure this thing out. We'll get to the bottom of it.
Aljamain Sterling, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. Let me send it over to the boys at the Mandalay Bay. Goes and Dan, what do you have for Aljo?
Aljamain, every time we talk to Ray Longo, he always speaks well of you. He always says you're always in the gym, you always work hard. And if you look at your Twitter, the first message we see pinned up there is if you want something, you have to put the fucking time in. I get it. I know you do that for every fight. But you got to be human, right? There has to have been one time where maybe you slacked off a little bit, but you got away with it. Can you name that one time? Is there ever a time where maybe you did slack off a little bit, but you got away with it?
Slack off in training kind of thing?
In training, in a fight, in life, just one time, because you're such a hard worker, but there had to have been that one time, man.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to put a time where I didn't work hard, is I learned my lessons in college, I came up short a bunch of times in wrestling in college, even with my schoolwork early on. And I realized in order to get to where I want to be, I have to do the things that I really hated doing so that I can get to where I needed to be. And I want to be an All-American. I really want to be a national champ, at least a one-timer. I started the wrestling game so late in 10th grade, so I had a lot of catch-up. And I was just a naturally talented guy. I didn't really work hard. If we went live, I fought my heart up. I gave it everything. I was going to be the last guy getting dragged off the mat. But necessarily technique with these other guys who are staying after, doing private lessons with the coaches, those guys always excelled, and they always had my number. I couldn't beat those guys. And then I realized, if you really want something, I put in the time, I trusted my coaches, and then I finally got on the podium at the national level and achieved part of my goals and dreams that I set forward before I even got to the college platform. And it's just one of those things. You kind of learn nothing in life is handed out to you. You go out there and go earn that shit. You can't just expect people to give you handouts because you're so-and-so. You have to really go out there and grind for what you want. And I got a new saying now. It's PIWCO, and put in work and cash out. So I'm here to change my life. I didn't start fighting just to come back home with scars and bruises for the rest of my life for no reason. I'm here to change my life. So I got to put the work in so I can cash out, retire in the sport, be a happy man, hopefully be one of those top bantamweight legends to ever do this. And, the icing on the cake will be walking away with a UFC belt around my waist so I can say that, I finally made it to the pinnacle of the sport as much as it has eluded me throughout my entire career in high school, in college, and I finally got that shit done.
I like it. Aljamain, can I ask you a silly question about cashing out?
Cashing out, let's go.
Say Sean Shelby calls you back and says, all right, dog, I got you your opponent, everything's set, the money's set. However, this whole Junior Albini diaper thing, it's catching on. Here's an extra 10 grand to wear that diaper out. Would you wear it?
You know what? For an extra 10 grand, why not? Capitalize on the opportunity.
I'm
still going to go out there to whoop ass, so it's going to be a whoop ass by a big baby.
What if Sean says, how about we just make it the same diaper he wore and here's another 10?
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I don't know.
It just gets passed on from fighter to fighter.
Yeah, that might be a tough one. I don't know. I don't know if they could pay me enough to wear what that guy was wearing. It just looked so wrong.
He's gonna earn that. You're gonna earn the nickname of Funkmaster there, Aljo. That's for sure. Aljo, I guess my question here. I saw last year you were talking about your clothing company, and it looks like it's still going strong. Island Boy. Now, obviously, you got the Jamaican roots, and even I think maybe even last year you went out to my islands, the Hawaiian Islands, to train. Do you just love love the islands, or what's the story behind your clothing brand?
Well, Jamaican roots is an island, obviously, and I was born and raised in Long Island, which is another island. And I do love islands, man. I love the island life. When I went down to Jamaica, you know, I love going to the beaches. I love hanging out, being a beach bum. So whenever I get some downtime and it's nice out, I'm the only one of my friends who typically wakes up early and goes to the beach. Everybody else kind of like, they don't really like going to the beach like that. No one really enjoys it. You know, that the friends that I grew up with. But me, I just love that lifestyle, man. Hopefully, I can make enough money where I can get I can get an investment property down in Jamaica. I'm trying to work something out with Randy Brown, who's also he's actually a true Jamaican, born and raised down there before he moved up to the States. So we're looking to hopefully get a little collab going and maybe build up MMA Jamaica a little bit. And we're trying to get Uriah Hall involved too. You know, there's not many of us, so if I keep this island boy lifestyle going, that's the way to go. That's the way to go.
That's awesome, man.
Aljamain Sterling, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. Hopefully he gets that fight for UFC Fight Night 123 in Fresno. Dan, did I cut you off? Did you have something else for Aljamain?
Oh, no, I was just saying that's awesome. That's
Okay.
cool. They got that contingent going on.
Yeah, I love it, man. All right, last question, Aljamain. We'll cut it short. I know you have to get going. Really love it when people are involved in their community. Are you a high school head coach or assistant coach? I know you were telling me something about working with the kids, and I know you've told us that in the past. What's your role, and how much do you enjoy that?
I enjoy it very much. I just know how much it did for me as a youth. It gave me direction in my life. It kind of sorted me out from the gang life. You know, growing up with my brothers and everything, man, they were pretty affiliated, you know, so that kind of kept me out of that. And it's one of the things I'm most thankful for, because if I didn't find that, people always say, you know, you probably would have been successful anyway because you work hard. But I'm like, yeah, but you guys don't understand the place in my life where I was, where it was really like at a crossroads, where I wasn't sure if I was going to continue with this gang thing and take it more seriously and really get initiated and all that. But wrestling changed my life. It gave me purpose. It gave me a sense of urgency of a way that I can use it as an escape route to get out of the hood and to get to college and make something of myself. And I feel like if that did that for me, and in the position that I'm in now, for me to get back to these kids to let them know, like, I am here. This is somebody you can physically see, somebody that you knew that grew up around the way from where you did, and you can get to the same position, whether or not you want to be a fighter, whether or not you want to be a doctor, whether or not you want to be a lawyer, whatever it is you set your mind to. It's all about goals and knowing that there's people who are like you who grew up in the same situations and circumstances. You know, I grew up with both my parents, but when I was younger, I didn't grow up with my dad. You know, he would get in probably like once a week, once every other week. Sometimes I felt like I wouldn't see him for like an entire month. That's just my memory of how I grew up. It was always myself, my mom, my younger brother. So it was very pretty much a single family household being raised like that. And I know there's a lot of people in the neighborhood that I coach in the neighborhood that I used to coach in. They have very similar upbringings, and you know, I can relate. It's super relatable to that thing. So if I could be a voice of what would you call it? I guess optimism. Like, there is hope for everybody out there as long as you want something bad enough and you put in the time. And that's why I really pride myself on teaching these guys.
Have you been able to get a kid or two off the streets? Has anybody ever hit you back with that and said, "Hey, man, you inspired me. You know, I'm out of that life, and now I'm focused on wrestling"? Have you gotten that personally?
Not like necessarily gang life, but I've had kids come back to me because, you know, I've had kids that quit, and they come back to me like, "Man, all the stuff you were saying before, you know, it's really starting to make sense. If I can go back and wrestle, I would continue have wrestling for you and doing all these things. I wish I kept up with it, or you know, I understood the lessons you taught me, and now I'm working on these other fields of my life where I'm starting to excel because of wrestling. Wrestling just teaches that hard work, grind, put your nose down, and just get after it. So that's as much as it comes down to, I guess, changing anybody's life. There's one kid that I coached for 2 years. He's actually training with us at our gym. He's still in college wrestling. I told him not to give it up. I told him you'll feel better about yourself if you get that All-American wood. Go to your 4 year, finish your 4 year, get your degree, have something to fall back on. And if you truly want to make a run in this MMA thing, you do both the same way I did. And by the time you're done, you're going to have a decision to make. And that's what life's all about. Everyone's road is different. Sometimes we're not sure where our road's going to take us, but you know, you got to trust yourself, trust your gut, and make some big boy, put your big boy pants on, make some big boy decisions.
Fucking awesome. I love it, man. They don't make them any classier than Aljamain Sterling, UFC bantamweight, who is looking to stay on that UFC Fight Night 123 card out in Fresno. All right, Aljo. Hey, thanks for spending some time with us. I hope it comes through. One of those fighters we mentioned earlier or whoever, but we need to see a fight here to close out the year so you can make your run at the title in 2018.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. You guys too.
All right, thank you. Folks, give him a follow on Twitter at Funkmaster_UFC. Let him know that you heard him on the at MMA Junkie radio show. We are going to take a break. Right, Danny? We still have a break to take, right?
We do. We have one more.
We do. Let's get it out of the way, then we'll come back and close up shop for the week. Might squeeze in one call if you're bust your ass. 866-522-2846. Maybe 2 calls. We'll be right back.
They taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Let's get these out of the way. Let's thank our guests from the entire week. Frank Mir, former UFC heavyweight champion, now a participant in the Bellator Grand Prix that begins in 2018. Dustin Poirier, a winner at UFC Fight Night 120 over Anthony Pettis. King Molawal, another participant in that Grand Prix over at Bellator. Our Moneyweight buddy, who's now in LA, was in Florida. He's everywhere. Nina Ansaroff, big win at UFC Fight Night 120 as well. Chaz Walton, an up-and-comer you probably haven't heard of, but he'll be fighting tonight for Titan. Eric, and by the way, he qualifies because the UFC kind of put out, sometime in December, they're going to have tryouts for, I think it was bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, I forget. But it was 3 weight classes, and they're just looking for undefeated fighters. Now, you can go in as a 3-0 minimum, but they really focused on undefeated fighters, and I think that's what they want to do in the next season. I'll see if I can pop up that story here once I'm done with this. But I was thinking of Chaz Walton and Shorty Torres both guests of ours this week, 'cause I think they're both undefeated. All right, Eric Nixick co-hosted with us on Wednesday. The aforementioned Jose Torres, Gray Maynard, fun catching up with him. Ryan Bader, Bellator light heavyweight champion, one of the top 205ers in the world. He really has beaten a lot of great fighters, man, when you look at his resume. Ben Fowlkes, the #1 MMA media person on my list, joined us as well. Damon Martin, another top 10 from that same list. Matt Mitrione, rounding out our Bellator Grand Prix participants. What was that, 4 altogether?
4
for the week. Aljamain Sterling, who we just hung up the phone with, and I don't know what happened to Phil Baroni. Maybe we'll have him next week. I know Andrew Simon's going to co-host next week. President,
awesome,
CEO of Access TV. Rob Cardenas, we haven't had him on the show. He'll be co-hosting an episode as well.
About the guy on
Might
Monday.
have a UFC middleweight stopping by. The guy on Monday?
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Can I just say it?
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
Ali Abdulaziz and Justin Gagey will be in
Oh,
studio
yeah,
on Monday.
okay, yeah.
Oh, snap.
Yes, and Justin Gagey, yeah. So it's going to be a fun week. We're going to have a lot of in-studio guests. It's going to be a short week for Thanksgiving, but let me see. I have the story here. Let me just read it the way it should be for what I was saying earlier. If you're an undefeated lower weight class fella, you guys say something while I look for this.
Okay. I want to know why George would not watch all. What he said, 6 of them, right? So 6 Star Wars movies for $5,000. If he was healthy, he wouldn't do it.
That's crazy to me.
That is insane to me.
I want to make him watch the Oozinator commercial now for that.
I would watch all of the extended versions of Lord of the Rings for $5,000, and that's way longer.
Guys, this has been going on for 40 years. People have been trying to get me to watch this movie. I'm just not going to buckle for anything. The only reason I do it is because of all of the costs around this busted up knee, man. And I can't really go anywhere. So if I'm going to do it, it's now. I can't go for a walk with the dog. I can't go for a jog. I can't do nothing. But other than that, it's all about street cred, man. They can actually say you don't give a fuck.
This may feed into an idea, guys, so I'm going to note this. I'm going to bookmark this that he hasn't seen this.
GoFundMe?
No,
featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight, by the way. The casting call for the Ultimate Fighter 27 Battle of the Undefeated. So that's what they want, is undefeated fighters. Tryouts are held December 12th at the Palace Station Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. The story's on MMA Junkie if you want more info. Guys, we got about 30 seconds. Any parting words for the weekend?
It was a fun weekend, and next weekend we want to know what you are thankful for. So we're gonna do a little segment on that, and get back on track with some stun guns because I'm pretty angry.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be watching UFC Sydney. Come talk to me at Dan Tom MMA on Twitter.
Go UNLV Rebels.
And Danny's got some gigs, right, Danny?
Yeah, I'll be all over the place. I had
follow him on Twitter at Danny Otto. He'll let you know where he's at. Sorry, Danny, I had to jump in there. We're out of here.
Wow.
All right, guys, go out there and be champions.